Can I turn this 18-inch bandsaw into a working scroll saw just by adding this accessory, a Carter blade stabilizer? Well, stick around and we'll find out. So normally I have this set up to do resawing with a 1.5-inch wide blade. Obviously you can't use that for doing fine short radius cutting, such as what I've had to do on this, which is some I'm making some Christmas reindeer and elves for my grandchildren, and as you can see there's very tight radius turns in here. So what I did was I replaced the resawing blade with the narrowest blade I could get on this machine, which is 1/8 of an inch. And initially it worked fine. For about an hour I was getting some really good cuts happening, but then after an hour it just went snap, and that was that. This was the result here. It just completely snapped at the weld, and I think that was for a couple of reasons. Probably mainly that it was not being well held between the guides. On this bandsaw you've got ceramic guides, and it's very hard to get a narrow blade like that to line up between the guides without the guides hitting the teeth. And after fiddling around for about 20 minutes I finally got it what I thought was good enough, but I suspect maybe it wasn't, and that could have contributed to the snapping. And plus the fact that, added with the fact that I was trying to twist the blade sometimes in these tight cuts, and it could have been actually popping out of the guides without me noticing. Anyhow, it snapped, and so I spoke to my good friends at Henry Brothers in Sydney, and they replaced it actually under warranty for me because it snapped the same day, which I thought was very good of them. So they actually sent, I ordered two, so they gave me one replacement under warranty, and I also bought another one, so if this happens again, at least I've got a spare. So that's the history on that one. I've got my new one just here, and that's the one I'm going to install now. So the steps to follow here, when I read the instructions, which there's not much on it, just what you can see there. But as I understand it, what we do is remove the top guides. They come off completely. This goes on there. And then as far as the bottom guides are concerned, all you do is back them right off so that they're nowhere near the blade, which means effectively that the only support for the blade is coming from this little stabilizer, which is kind of interesting. So the only support it'll have is at the top. And the stabilizer here goes in place of where the factory guides come off. And when you look at this up close, you can see all it is really is just a ball bearing there, but there's actually there's a groove cut in that. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there's a groove in the middle of it, and that the back of the blade sits in that groove. And the idea there is that it gives the blade support at the back, but it actually allows the front of the blade to twist, which means you can actually get a tighter cut, tighter radius out of this than you could get with the blade as it would normally be held top and bottom between ceramic guides. So anyway, that's the theory. It's going to be interesting to see if it actually works and how easy it is to set up. So that's what we're going to do now. The first thing I'm going to do is back off those bottom guides, get them right out of the way, and then I'm going to install this new blade, get that all tensioned up, and then we'll fiddle about getting the alignment right on this stabilizer. I should just say also that the supplier of the Carter, because the Carter stabilizer is made in America, the local supplier here is Machinery Maintenance Victoria, and I'll put their website link in the notes for this video. It cost all up, delivered, $175. So not cheap, but I suppose if I was to buy a scroll saw, I'd pay at least that anyway. The difference is this will cut a lot faster than a scroll saw ever would, especially when you're dealing with Aussie hardwoods. So as I say, I'll put that in the link in the description section. Rightio, so now I've got the new blade installed. We're ready to put the Carter stabilizer on there, and I'll zoom in on what I'm doing there so you can get a good look at it. But the first thing obviously is you have to take off the ceramic guides that come on the bandsaw, and they're mounted with a set screw here onto the ceramic backstop. So you leave that backstop ceramic support in there, and you just remove the two side supports for the blade. So I've taken that off, and the idea now is we can install the carter. It'll go onto that shaft that we've left there where the other guides came off. So I'll just zoom in a little bit so hopefully you can see a bit better. Okay, so this just slips over the shaft there. There's two grub screws on this. It's a aluminium casting that's been nicely machined, and there's two grub screws that clamp onto that shaft. So that just pops on there. Tighten up. I'll just do the top one a bit loose because it's harder to get to for when you're adjusting for fine tuning. So I'll just do that one a bit loose, and now tighten up the one on the side here. Try and get that as square as I can to the blade, but we can adjust that using the set screw for the shaft, the mounting shaft anyway. So that's not really going to be an issue right now. Okay, now as you can see it's backed right out, so it's nowhere near the blade. So what we're going to do is just let off the set screw there, move that forward to get some engagement with the blade there. Now in this case we probably do, because this is the only thing supporting the blade, and the blade is so narrow, we probably do want to actually have that blade sitting just gently against the back of the bearing, because normally with the ceramic bearing you would leave it just in front of it. You don't want it to be touching all the time because it wears the bearing, the ceramic unnecessarily. But in this case we need to get some support on that blade, otherwise I fear it'll snap like it did before. So sorry, I'm just going to lock that in place on the support strut, and then I can judge where this is relative to the blade, so I can come back a bit, come forward a little bit. I think about there should do me. Yep, that feels pretty good. So I lock that in there. Now, when I stand back and look at that, probably you can see this from your angle, I've got that quite skewed, so that's not really going to be very good. So what I'm going to do is loosen that off. We should only need to set this screw once really, but I'm going to have to carefully eyeball that and see where we've got the blade relative to the bearing. Best to get this set first, I think, and then we'll just move the whole assembly out with this other Allen key to get the. So the trick here will be, oh, there's a storm coming. Trick here will be to advance that out and then turn the flywheel and check to see if we're getting. Okay, now the bearing's moving, so we want it to be just touching on that, the back of that bearing. That's pretty good there, I think. Okay, try that. That's turning. Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty good. Okay, so we've got that pretty much set right now. We're probably good to run a test, so I'm just going to have to get this wired up. It's not plugged in at the moment. Get my dust extractor hooked up and get it all set to go, and then we can run a trial cut and see what it looks like. Okay, we're all set up here. Just checking with the instructions. It says that this guide or stabilizer is for blades 1/4 inch or smaller. So I've got an 1/8 inch on. You could use it with 1/4, but you don't want to use it with any wider blade than that. I've got it all set up now, and I've got a blank here for a reindeer that I've drawn the pattern onto already. So I'm going to use that for my test. Don't know if it's a wise idea to use something like that for the test, but shows you how much confidence I've got. And it says, safety-wise, that the guide should always be 1/4 of an inch above the work, so we need to get it right down close on near the work. And that makes a lot of sense given that you don't have any bottom guides to control the band, so you don't want to be cutting on a band that's set way above, with the top guide being set way above the workpiece. So I'm going to fire it up first and just let it run for a bit, make sure that my tracking's all good, and then I'll try a cut. Still got that set a little bit high to the job, so we'll bring that down a wee bit. So the bearing's just off the wood. That should do us. That's good. All right. Here we go. Moment of truth. Cutting a piece of maple here now, probably about 5 inches thick. We're going in here on a tight turn, tightening up. Actually, I could have gone tighter there. Okay, that looks good. Cut very clean, that one. Okay, we'll try this tricky turn here, because this one looks rather difficult. Probably the most difficult cut on this piece. So we'll do that one, see how we go. Okay, we're coming to the tight section now. No problem there. You can see the blade moving with the radius. And yes, it's able to do that because it's not held too firmly at the front of the blade. So basically the front of the blade is flexing and the back of the blade is held firm. So we're still cutting straight up and down. But when it comes to the skew angle on the blade, it can go right around very tight. Okay, coming out of the cut now. Okay, let's have a look at that. Okay, very nice cut actually. For a bandsaw, that's remarkably smooth. Just a second, I'll just go grab my square. I'll just put the square on this to the reference face, which is that one. Can't quite get the square in there. Okay, do it this way. Yeah, beautiful and square that is. Lovely. perfectly square cut. In fact, I doubt I could cut that squarer with a circular saw, with a table saw. It's very square. So that's pretty good, I'd have to say. So there you have it. I've turned my bandsaw into a scroll saw. Well, not exactly, but it will cut the sort of tight radius that you'd normally have to do on a scroll saw, but it'll do it a lot faster being a bandsaw. And it's cutting beautifully in square and very smoothly. That'll be an easy job to sand that to take a finish. There's not too much roughness from the blade, which is surprising for such a narrow blade. When I put my fingers on this bearing, I can feel it's warm. Obviously it's warmed up from the friction of turning with the blade. You'd expect that, but it's definitely holding the blade at the back very well, and allowing the front of it to move freely, well, not completely freely, but to flex enough to get a very tight radius turn. Will it last? I don't know, because the other blade, as I said, snapped after an hour. I've put a little less tension on this one. Hopefully that'll make a difference. And I've got quite a few of these reindeer and some elves to make, so I'll be doing quite a bit of cutting, a couple of hours at least, I'd imagine. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. If I have any problems, I'll come back to you and let you know. But I must say it seems to work well, and it's much easier to install than I thought it would be. In fact, the hardest part was installing the blade. Once I got that done, a bit of fiddling around setting that bearing to the right angle, but that bottom shaft that it's mounted on, now I've got that set, I shouldn't need to change that. So in future it'll just be a matter of putting it on the ceramic shaft at the back and just getting the set screw set so the blade's touching the back of the bearing. Pretty easy stuff, really, easier than setting up the ceramic guides that are on this machine. So yeah, pretty impressed with that. It looks like a good purchase. It took me a while to find out where to get one in Australia because they're made in America, but there is the one distributor, and I'll put a link to their website in the description section. If you've got any questions, sing out, let me know. I'll endeavour to answer them. And as I say, if I have any difficulties or find any little tricks with it along the way, I'll make another short video just to let you know. Other than that, happy woodworking and Merry Christmas. Honestly, look at this piece that I cut out of the top of that reindeer. It's so smooth. It feels like 400 sandpaper on that. A really sharp hand plane. Such a smooth surface. I really can't believe it that it's come off a blade, off a bandsaw blade. That's a bit of American maple, so yeah, quite hard wood. But yeah, it's cut beautifully. I suppose that's a tribute to the guide and also the blade, the quality of the blade that I got from Henry Brothers. So well done, guys. Shout out to you for setting up a really nice sharp blade. Well, I better get back to work on these reindeer and elves, or Santa's going to be very short-staffed for Christmas.